What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's my watch list ahead of Game Week 10, so I'm going to go through some of the players that I've got my eye on over the next couple of weeks. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you are new around here as well. So obviously my team forms the basis of the players I pick for this video. So I wanted to talk about a few possible issues that I have. So Mitrovic is flagged. He may miss out this weekend. If he does, obviously a lot of it's going to depend on how long he's out for. I could straight swap into a different forward. That's one option. I could just play Nico Williams or Gay and just bench Mitrovic for 1 week. I could upgrade one of those two players as well to a different defender, because I think there are possibly some better defenders out there, and I do have 1.1 million in the bank. So that's something to think about. I'm also wondering about Game Week 13 onwards. So Game Week 11 deadline is on a Friday. I think Game Week 12 deadline is on the Tuesday. So it's a quick turnaround. So there's not going to be time to do a watch list video every week. So given that Arsenal and Man City, obviously the top two clubs in the country right now, I want to know how I can get more players from those teams. So I've got Cancelo, Haaland, Martinelli. What about other players from those teams? So that's on my mind as well. And also Trent Alexander-Arnold. I've only just put him in on wildcard, but I'm not completely happy about him already. They did not defend well again against Brighton, and I was really relying on points from that game because it's Arsenal away and Man City at home next. I do think Liverpool's fixtures from 12 onwards are decent, but as I was kind of discussing in the stream last night, I don't know if Trent Alexander-Arnold is as much as a necessity as he has been in previous seasons, and as he seemed to be in Game Week 1. It's just not happened for him. And at over 7 million, I'm already questioning whether I could just do better things with that money. Could I, like, obviously a lot of people went Trippier and Toney instead of Solanke and Trent. There's not a huge difference in points, but there is already a difference in points between those two players. That will probably continue to happen over the next few weeks. So that's another player I've got my mind on. So defenders, forwards, and also players from kind of Game Week 12, 13 onwards is going to form the basis of this video. So first up is Matt Doherty. It's not necessarily a great idea to be looking at defenders for teams that have just conceded 3 goals. But to be fair, Spurs did play Arsenal, who have been great so far in attack this season. And they conceded one of the goals once Emerson Royal was sent off and they were down to 10 men. And him being sent off is one of the reasons that I'm looking at Matt Doherty. For 4.6 million, could this be his opportunity to prove his fitness and make that right wing back spot his own? I think Emerson Royal, to be fair, has been okay in defence this season so far, but when it comes to the final third, and we know how important the wing backs are for Conte in terms of an attacking sense, I don't think there's any comparison between how Emerson Royal is not very good in attack and how great Matt Doherty is. And we saw last season how good he was, and when he got his chance, he stayed in the team, and I think he would have been first choice had he been fit at the start of this season. It obviously doesn't come without any risk, right? He is cheap, so 4.6 million is not too much of a risk in terms of your budget, but he hasn't played a lot of minutes so far this season. So how good will his fitness be? They got a lot of midweek games. So even if he does well, Emerson Royal could still play in some of the games. And we know that often the wing-backs come on for Spurs. So we could get some cameos. We've also seen that Sessegnon has played on the left and Perisic has played on the right at one point. I don't think that experiment is going to happen too often. I think if Doherty is fit, he just either plays Sessegnon or Perisic and then plays Doherty as well. I don't see them too often playing both Sessegnon and Perisic, but it is an option. There are a few risks there, and I don't, to be honest, the way things have gone so far this season, I'm not even sure if Brighton away is that easy of a fixture for Spurs. I think it will be difficult to get a clean sheet there. You could possibly say the same for Man United as well, but ultimately, if he does get decent minutes, he's someone that can get you attacking returns, and in some of the easier games, possibly get you a clean sheet along the way as well. So he's firmly on the watch list. I think because I'm a bit of a cautious manager, I'd like to see him play another game first and do well, and not even necessarily get attacking returns, but just prove his fitness before I bring him in. But if you're more of a risk taker, then you could look to get him in this week if you need a new defender. I just look at that price, 4.6 million for what Matt Doherty can do is just too good, and he is better going forward than Emerson Royal. So if he can prove his fitness, he might make that right wing back spot his own. So if Mitrovic is out for a few weeks, I do have that 1.1 million in the bank, so I could go straight to Ivan Toney. He's having a really good season. He's definitely on the watch list. 6 points per game so far this season. That's very close to the likes of De Bruyne and Foden for less money. So he looks like a decent option. One thing I've noticed as well is his open play goal threat, so his expected goals per 90, is increased from last year. I think it was about 0.25 last year, up at 0.34. When you combine that with the fact he is there to potentially get some assists as well, he's already round just a solid option. We know all the other stuff, 90 minutes, penalties and all that jazz. So he's a solid option from now until game week 16 if I just want a set and forget. This would be if Mitrovic is out for a few weeks. If he's just going to miss one game, the conversation's a little bit different. But Toney's definitely on the watch list. The only thing I'm thinking about, and maybe this is just overthinking on my part, is the next 3 fixtures. Newcastle away, fairly tough. A lot of people going to own Trippier and Pope. They'll be hoping for a clean sheet. Then you got Brighton. Now the game is at home, but Brighton is not really a side where it's that easy to go and score against. I know Liverpool got 3, but despite everything that's happened with them and the results so far, they're still a very good attacking side. And then you got Chelsea. So I don't think it would put me off buying Toney, but I do wonder whether there's somewhere else we could go for the next 3 fixtures. But ultimately, with everything else going on, like the blank and stuff like that, if Mitrovic was out for a while, I don't think I'd want to start messing around with that position. I'd probably just stick Toney in. So he's firmly on the watch list. Still a solid option. I just wish that the next 3 fixtures were a little bit better. It's a little bit knee-jerk, but we've got to talk about Phil Foden after he scored a hat-trick against Man United. Absolutely incredible result for City. They did concede 3 goals, but to be honest, I think they let their foot off the gas a little bit in the second half. But 2 hat-tricks. One from Haaland, which we've come to expect now. He's already got 3 this season. He is crazy. But Foden's gone and got one as well. And he's still a really good price at 8.1 million. His underlying numbers are always pretty decent. They're a little bit lower than last season, but I don't really worry about that because I'm fully expecting to continue to do well. And it's just the sheer amount of goals that Man City are scoring. Plenty of other teams, like if we look at the league table, have done well. Like Arsenal scored 20 goals already. Spurs have scored 19. I think Liverpool, although again, their results have been bad, they've still scored 18 goals. All those teams are doing well, but Man City have got 29. And who's going to bet against them keeping this up when they've got that absolute machine that is Haaland up front? But I think Foden for 8.1 million just represents excellent value. And I think, look, I can't probably bring him in this week because it's Southampton at home, great fixture. Liverpool away, look, they're going to get a few goals there, I think, the way Liverpool are defending. But I don't think I can justify bringing in a player for that fixture and then the blank. So we have to be someone to look at from game week 13 onwards. But I think it is important to start thinking about that because there's going to be a lot of midfielders around that price. So if you've got 1 or 2 8 million mids and you want to get maybe Saka, possibly look at Luis Diaz, you're starting to look at Foden now. How are you going to fit them all in and where are the transfers going to come from? That is what I'm considering. So right now it looks like a straight up shootout between Foden and Saka, and I think that's now a very difficult choice. And the thing that I've spoken about a lot, and I'm not trying to say that Foden is my pick or anything like that, lots of people are aware of this, but he is pretty much nailed, right? If you look at the minutes that he's had so far this season, he has started every single game. I know he's come off early a few times. I think Bournemouth was that game where he didn't pass to Haaland, but Pep said that he wanted to bring Jack Grealish on, so he played 45 minutes in the second half. And against Nottingham Forest, obviously they were doing really well and he came off in the 54th minute, but ultimately he does start games. And Pep Guardiola even said recently, even though he's not playing that well, imagine that, right? He's got 8 returns now this season. Pep is saying he's not playing that well, he still can't leave him out, and I think that trend is going to continue. He's one of those players, Pep talks about this a lot, that is just always fit. He's always ready for the next game, and when they've got such a period of fixture congestion, that is great for Pep Guardiola. So there's every chance that he continues to play every single one of those games, and the amount of goals that Man City are scoring, that might now possibly put him ahead of Saka in the reckoning when it comes to game week 13. For anyone that doesn't own him, I think maybe if you're wildcarding in 13 and you can afford a few luxury transfers, you could go for him against Southampton at home. I'm still kind of the opinion that as well as Kevin De Bruyne is playing, I know everyone's going to hate this, I'm still not sure I'm confident enough in doing Salah to De Bruyne at any point. But having Salah and Foden, rather than having like De Bruyne and Saka, that is something that I can definitely get behind. So I really like the look of him. He's just playing really well right now. I think we've got to not forget about what Haaland's doing, but what he is outputting, like I think it's 14 goals, 3 assists, is just absolutely crazy. You look at Foden, he's still doing amazing as well, right? They've had 8 games and he's got 8 returns. So he may now be the pick of the £8 million midfielders, but I wouldn't completely write Saka off just yet. So one of the reasons that I quite like Foden versus Saka is to do with combinations. So most of us have already got Haaland, so therefore if you want another Man City attacker, you're looking at which midfielder you can go for. If you go for Foden over Saka, you've still got another option in that Arsenal lineup because you could go for Jesus to take up one of your forward spots. And I do think it is important to start thinking about this because again, it comes down to just how many transfers you've got for game week 13 onwards to start getting these players back in. I'm sure anyone that's continued to do well over the last few weeks and is saving their wildcard for Game Week 13 is feeling pretty good about it right now, because I foresee teams like Foden, Cancelo, Haaland, Jesus, Martinelli, probably an Arsenal defender as well. Maybe your pick of Liverpool players if you want them. If you don't, who cares right now? So wildcarders in Game Week 13 are looking pretty good, but I definitely want to start thinking about it as well. Now, I don't think it was necessarily a mistake to sell Jesus. I know he got 6 points in Game Week 8, he got 8 points, in Game Week 9 as well. So he's continued to do decently, but at some point, you have to plan for the future, and it just wasn't possible to hold all these Arsenal and Man City players if you've already wildcarded. So I wouldn't call it a mistake, but I definitely got my eye on possibly trying to get him back if I can. Like, you look at those numbers, they're absolutely incredible. 0.68 non-penalty expected goals per 90 minutes. That is elite. He's got a bit of assist threat as well. Already has 8 returns, and he's brilliant. Now, if we forget about Foden for a second, there is a decision to be made between possibly having Saka or Jesus. Some of you might look to triple up, because I still think Martinelli is great value, but for most people it's going to be one or the other. Now, right now, Jesus is absolutely winning. His goal threat is higher as well. He's on 47 points, right, and he's still owned by nearly 70% of the game. Saka's not doing that bad. He's on 39, so he's only just behind with 2 less attack and returns. So that just goes to show you how useful it can be being a midfielder in this game versus being a forward. There's also the penalty thing. We haven't seen Arsenal get a penalty yet. We've all kind of like Martinelli, Saka and Jesus all on the pitch. What would be really interesting is if someone like Xhaka wins a penalty and then to see who takes it. I've got a feeling it's going to be Saka, but we don't know that for sure. And if he is the penalty taker, that might make him a slightly better option than Jesus. Although, I think the amount of penalties we've seen so far this season is definitely down on last year. So I think ultimately I really want an Arsenal attacker again from Game Week 13, because they've got Southampton away, Forest at home. In Game Week 16 it's Wolves, and to be honest right now Chelsea away will be a difficult game, but I'd be surprised if Arsenal don't score. I'm not saying they'll go and score like 4 or 5, but they could score 1 or 2, maybe even 3 in that game against Chelsea. Chelsea could do the same, of course, but I really like the look of just getting an attacker back in. Yes, it's going to suck only having Martinelli for that Leeds game, but again, it comes back to that justification. Can I justify getting Jesus in 11 just to take him straight out in Game Week 12? Probably not, but it is an option, right? If Mitrovic is out for a while, I could just use one of my bench players this week. Game Week 11, get Jesus in. I think I've got just about enough money. If not, I could get it with 2 free transfers. And then in Game Week 12, possibly look to just get Toney or someone else in. So he is someone I'm looking at. Again, I don't think I will do it before the blank, but from 13 onwards, I need more City players. I need more Arsenal players. Foden, Saka and Jesus are the ones that I'm looking at. Not De Bruyne, just because of his price. I just don't think I'm going to have a spare transfer to do Salah to De Bruyne. And ultimately, I don't think I want to either. So there we go, that is my watch list for Game Week 10. Let me know in the comments what you think about the players that I've spoken about. What is your plan if you've already wildcarded to get more City and Arsenal players in? Because I think that's what a lot of us will be looking to do. Is it Foden? Is it Saka? Can you get Jesus in? Are some of you going for De Bruyne as well? I've seen people talk about triple Man City attack. Foden, De Bruyne and Haaland. I don't think I'm going to do it, but it could be lucrative if they keep up the amount of goals that they've scored so far. So let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed that video, please do give it a like. Hit that subscribe button if you're new around here, and I'll catch you again tomorrow.